In this video, we're going to talk about CompuTec WMS. It's our warehouse management system. Now, in the video about CompuTec PDC, I mentioned that CompuTec PDC is currently an extension for ProcessForce. If you want to use CompuTec PDC, you need to also be using CompuTec ProcessForce. This is not the case with CompuTec WMS. CompuTec WMS can, of course, be used with ProcessForce. It's already integrated with ProcessForce. You don't need to integrate the two solutions during implementation, but CompuTec WMS can be used independently with SAP Business One only. Most of our customers, they are manufacturers. They do use both solutions, CompuTec ProcessForce and CompuTec WMS, but we also have some customers who are not manufacturers. They are just logistics or distribution centers, and they just use SAP Business One and CompuTec WMS. It might also be possible for a manufacturer with a very simple production process who can manage with just SAP Business One for the manufacturing side of things to use CompuTec WMS as well with just SAP Business One. So mainly CompuTec WMS is for recording warehousing data from mobile devices and sending that data back to the SAP Business One database. But of course, this works the other way too, in that it can give information to the employees about their activities. It makes it much faster to record data than it would be using, pen and paper or an Excel sheet. And it also has various ways of making sure that the warehouse operatives record all the necessary data and they don't miss anything. You can set up criteria for what kind of data can be entered where as well. So that means it's less likely that the operatives can make mistakes. CompuTec WMS does work on a PC without any problems, but obviously that's rather less practical for the warehouse staff to carry around like a laptop around the warehouse or return to a stationary PC every time they want to record some information. So most of our customers either use CompuTec WMS primarily on like touchscreen devices that are either like handheld or mounted onto like a forklift truck, and then the warehouse operatives use them as they travel around the warehouse, or alternatively Android devices like mobile phones or tablets. The devices that are specifically designed for warehousing, they're like usually a bit more durable, but Android devices have a much lower price point, so it depends on the customer's priorities. Most of our customers also use barcodes that contain information about their inventory rather than like written descriptions on every box. So for the most part, those devices have a barcode scanner. In the case of Android devices, you can use the camera to scan barcodes. CompuTec WMS also supports industrial weight scales. So for example, the goods arrive in the warehouse in boxes, you put each box on scale and the scale will send the weight of the boxes directly to the system. And the guys in the warehouse then don't need to write anything down or anything like that. So it means that the chances of ending up with like incorrectly recorded weights is pretty minimal. And that's really important because acting like an extra zero into the system can make you think you have 500 kilos of something that you actually only have 50 of. And when you go to use that item for an order, you can get a pretty nasty surprise and also some very annoyed customers while you have to wait for the next delivery. There's support for all major warehousing processes, everything from the moment the stock arrives in the warehouse to the moment it leaves, including stocktaking. There's support for like batch numbers, serial numbers, also serialized batches, which I mentioned when I talked about CompuTec ProcessForce in the other video. There are lots of storage unit management options. You can have like multi-level storage units. So if you've got like cartons of milk, maybe you can put like 10 cartons into a box. So that box with the storage unit. And then you could put 20 of those boxes on a pallet, which would be the next level of storage unit. There's also support for like mixed storage units. You can have multiple item types in a single storage unit without any problems. We've recently added phase 1 of our catch weight management functionalities. We're going to be adding more functionality here in the future. Basically what catch weight management is about is like the ability to manage items with multiple units of measure. That's something that's important in the food industry in particular, because let's say we have some meat, like a shoulder of meat. So each shoulder would be a unit. So that's a unit is the unit of measure we're using. But shoulders of meat can vary quite significantly in size and in weight. And that's important because in recipes, we often want to use a specific weight rather than a specific number of shoulders. And also the value of the meat is usually calculated by weight as well. So that means it's important for the company to know how many units they have, but also how much those units weigh. So that's basically what catch weight management's about. There is another dimension to this in that certain kinds of products, for example, cheese, they might actually change weight during their time in the warehouse because of, for instance, like evaporation. So catch weight management generally also deals with that aspect of things, but those features are still in development for CompuTec WMS at the moment. At this moment when I'm doing this presentation. We have support for stock counting. We have some kind of additional features where you can create stock counting documents directly from WMS, not just from SAP Business One. And then other key things are flexibility, customization. These are things we take very seriously during the development process. We want our customers to adapt our solutions to fit in with their processes as far as possible. We don't want to disrupt their business practices. So CompuTec WMS is designed to be really very adaptable. As I said earlier, CompuTec WMS can be used on its own, but for companies that do opt to use it together with CompuTec ProcessForce, they do get some additional functionality that allows the warehouse to better support like production, keep the flow of inventory between the warehouse and the production area moving along smoothly. This is what CompuTec WMS looks like. Here we have main menu. On the left, you can see what kind of transactions are covered by CompuTec WMS here. In the middle, we have a stock transfer. So those items listed here, they need to be collected and moved somewhere else. And then the last screenshot, it's also from a stock transfer. It shows a new feature which we've recently added. It allows you to manage storage units during stock transfers, and this is something that we will be expanding to other transactions in the very near future. So that's the most important information about CompuTec WMS. I'd like to thank you for your attention.